Welcome everybody to a new episode of the Pondcast. Happy 2023. This is our first video and our first Battle of the Pond for the new year. Today's episode, Farigiraf. I'm Draco, and joining me today is Guren.
Hello.
Chase.
What's cracking, everyone?
And special guests, Cayla from Cayla's Capsule.
Hello.
And Jay from the passenger seat.
Yo, everybody.
And for those of you joining us today, our Battle at the Pond series is our take on how each of us would train a Pokemon individually. It's just to show that there's no right or wrong way to train a Pokemon and to help inspire some out-of-the-box thinking. And so, let's get into this. Farigiraf is a Generation 9 Pokemon, number 981. Farigiraf is a normal Psychic-type Pokemon, which takes 2 times damage from Bug and Dark, takes half damage from Psychic, and takes no damage from Ghosts. Its abilities are Cudchew, which is a new ability for Gen 9. The Pokemon eats a berry, it will regurgitate that berry at the end of the next turn and eat it one more time. And the other new ability, known as Armor Tail, the mysterious tail covering the Pokemon's head makes opponents unable to use priority moves against the Pokemon or its allies. And its hidden ability is Sap Sipper. Its attack stat is raised by 1 stage when a Pokemon is hit by a Grass-type move. Users receives no damage from the Grass-type attack. Its base stats are 520, with HP being at 120, its attack at 90, its defense at 70, special attack at 110, special defense at 70, and speed of 60. Alright. And since I believe, Cayla, you had a lot of enthusiasm for this one, right?
Oh yeah, I was originally gonna have Farigiraf on my team, and then I decided not to. So I have some fun ideas. Sure, yeah. So I nicknamed my Farigiraf Hannah because it's also a palindrome. I gave it the item Mental Herb because that will allow it to not be impacted by certain moves that could prevent it from setting up Trick Room, because, spoiler, Trick Room setter, fantastic with such low speed. I'm going to give it Armor Tail so that priority moves will also not interrupt it from using Trick Room. I gave it the Terra-type Fairy because it needs to deal with Dark types, which are one of the biggest threats to Farigiraf. Overall, for its moves, I picked Trick Room, Dazzling Gleam, Hyper Voice, and Psychic, so it can get Stab, Hyper Voice, and Psychic, which is really, really nice. Dazzling Gleam is good coverage move against Dark types, and also with the Terra-type Fairy could potentially, get that Stab from that as well. And then Trick Room to deal with its low speed, because we're making it as slow as possible. Its nature is going to lower speed and up its special attack. We're going HP, we're going special attack, we're going a little bit of defense because there are a lot of straight attackers in this game. So yeah, that is Hannah the Farigiraf.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah, definitely a good build for a Trick Room Farigiraf. I could definitely see that being something I would use, and it seems like a very solid build.
I do like Trick Room setup. As someone who also likes to use Trick Room in competitive, I do like it. The Armor Tail ability as well for preventing maybe a prankster taunt or something from popping off, so that it doesn't, so you can get your Trick Room off. I do like the Terra typing as well. It's a Fairy, because you do have to deal with Dark types, and depending, might as well have that pretty good coverage move, and you can probably hit a lot of things with it as well. So I thought that was really, really nice.
I think it's really cool to double down on the Trick Room thing. I think Farigiraf is built well for that, and I mean,
yeah, I've got to admit, I didn't even think of the concept of the Trick Room, because I that's the strat I have a hard time kind of juggling. But yeah, that is just vicious, especially with him being a Trick Room setter. Yeah, that's a frightening thought. I'm gonna have to.
I feel like HP enough that it can tank 1 hit, and as long as it can tank 1 hit, set up Trick Room and then just go at it.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty good. I like it. I really like it.
Let me preface by saying I don't think my Farigiraf is going to be as good as Cayla's, but I gave my Farigiraf the ability Armor Tail for the same priority coverage. I gave it the item Shell Belt to get HP back. EVs are 126 in defense, 252 in special attack, and 126 in special defense. Ability I gave it is modest to boost that special attack. Moves I gave it are Stored Power, Substitute, Agility, and Calm Mind. Well, Agility being there to boost another of its stat, and then Calm Mind boosts special attack and special defense by 1. So it packs a bit more of a punch, and it also layers on a bit more defense. Terror type is normal, so it takes neutral damage from all but fighting, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that was pretty solid. Armor Tail, it's such a really nice thing to be able to like not get hit by like priority moves. Like it's like I feel like it's just something that's like really important for like, especially for like Farigiraf, since it is kind of on the slower side. So I feel like it definitely needs it.
I think the most interesting thing about that build is the Terra type going neutral on everything but fighting. And I think it's pretty cool.
You had stored power on it, right? Yeah, I love that idea because I feel like this is the type that can tank some hits. And if you use stored power can get like really, really powerful. So like, especially if you're building up its stats, it's going to be able to tank even more and also hit even harder and then just wham at its opponents. So I really like the use of that move.
I agree, and we'll find out later why. But yeah, no, I'm a fan of getting something rolling like that. And during the last 7-star raid event, Stored Power Slowbro was absolutely devastating against Cinderace. So yeah, I've got a newfound respect for stored power users, especially if they can pull off an insane amount of damage in a very short amount of time. And agility is going to definitely be one of those that is going to help with that Calm Mind, getting one in special attack and special defense. So yeah, I like this. I rock it.
Yeah, funny enough, that Slowbro stored power strat for the 7-star raids was what influenced my build quite a bit.
So I didn't nickname my Farigiraf. My Farigiraf has Kudchu, and the item it's holding is a Colder Berry, which is the one that halves dark attacks. So super effective dark attacks are halved. That's to protect it against its dark weakness. It's got a Jolly Nature, so it's upping speed, lowering special attack. I got that right. EVs on this is actually on HP and speed. And I'm sort of going against the grain here, but just hear me out. So no other stats anywhere, right? And the moves it has are Light Screen, Power Swap, Guard Swap, and Baton Pass. So I didn't really focus on giving it any like... I feel like that there's definitely a build for Farigiraf where it can, you know, maybe go up against some of the competitive Pokemon, but what I wanted to do with this build was basically have no stats whatsoever across the board that is an HP or speed. Give that, you know, just regular attack and regular special attack as well as defense and special defense. Swap it with my opponent, Baton Pass into another Pokemon, the next Pokemon coming up, and have them gain the stat boost, which is something interesting that I learned when I was doing this build. Apparently, you can Baton Pass, Power Swap, and Guard Swap.
I feel like Farigiraf is just tanky enough that I think it could actually pull that off potentially. Yeah, because it's gonna need to be able to tank some hits, but with the light screen up, I think it would be okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention Terra type Fire, just in case you get matched with a Bug type. But I feel like the thing you're gonna be seeing most is maybe Dark types and special attacks. So that's why, you know, the light screen is there instead of the other one. The Kudchu with the Colder Berry will potentially be able to fend off against 2 super effective dark attacks.
Yeah, I really like the power swap and guard swap. I like the build overall as a support mon, but geez, I didn't actually know that. Well, Baton Pass kept guard swap and power swap, so that's very interesting. I like the fire terror type because not many people see it coming if they have a bug mon or such things. But yeah, very very solid build. I really like it.
I was not expecting that, honestly. Like having like a kind of like support setup for Giraffe just to bring it in for the next mon. that was definitely not what I would expect for sure. And then yeah, the Terra typing as well, that fire Terra typing, like I would honestly think like somebody would go with like normal or psychic or like its basic one, or maybe something like, or maybe even fairy as well. But I just never would have expected fire. So actually, I think that would be like a very big like throw off to the to your opponent. And even more so that it's support, and then like maybe the next Pokemon coming out, I'm hoping it's like the sweeper or something, and then just wrecking face afterwards.
Me, I'm gonna call this your build the Spanish Inquisition, because ain't nobody gonna expect that one.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Our chief weapon is surprise.
In all honesty, that is something totally out of left field, and I didn't do the looking into for baton pass off of the swaps, so that is really something new and interesting for me, and that's gonna change my opinion on a lot of things regarding those specific moves. But I like where your build went. I really do.
So I couldn't really think like outside of the box for this one. Like I just saw its HP stat and I was like, okay, I think I'm just gonna build it tanky. So I made it a bold nature first, so plus defense minus attack. The ability I gave it was Cudchew, but I think for this build you could also technically go with Armor Tail as well, but that would depend on like the item that you want to put on. So in my case, I just put like one of those pinch berries on for it so that it can it can gain like all that that amount of HP back with Cudchew. Otherwise, if you are running Armor Tail, I guess Leftover might also be another option. For its stats, I put like the max amount of points I can into its HP to be able to get all that HP, and then I just half the other like remaining stats into like defense and special defense. For the Terra typing, I just went with normal because I feel like just having that one weakness to fighting might have been okay as well. And yeah, and it just my way of like thinking about it is like, oh, no way somebody would throw in like a fighting type at this psychic type Pokemon, so I think it would be kinda safe-ish to have it as normal Terra typing. As for the movesets, I went with Hyper Voice. I think that's just a really solid move, especially if it's gonna keep that normal Terra typing, so get a boost on that, especially during doubles. So I feel like that would do a lot. Stab Psychic, or for once again, like if there are fighting types that do come in, then you have that as that coverage move. Dazzling Gleam as well, another good, I want to say 2v2 move, especially if someone does bring in a dark type as well. And then for this last move, I feel like it can go either way, but I put Calm Mind in that just to get raise its special defenses and its special attack. Of course, you could always do something like maybe put on Curse, since you don't really have to focus on its speed too much, you can raise its defense some more, or maybe you can put a Nasty Plot just to raise its attack so that you can start dishing out damage as soon as you do like your one either nasty once you do that one Nasty Plot. And you probably don't have to worry too much about survivability because you do have that Cudgew ability plus that Pinch Berry depending. And
yeah, I mean, I think like I said before, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I feel like going that route is it works for a reason. The builds that are there, they're there for a reason, and it's because it's what's most effective and efficient. And so I think you're going the right way with that. So yeah,
I feel like Farigiraf is a really fascinating Pokemon because it has so many moves that can up different stats. Like it also has Nasty Plot in addition to, we talked about Calm Mind and Agility. Like there's just a lot that you can play around with this Pokemon, so it's a really fun one.
Yeah, I don't know what else I can add that hasn't already been said. I mean, like Jay said, these types of builds work for a reason. I mean, they're reliable, help you out in a pinch, and like Cayla was saying, Farigiraf is, for the most part, pretty versatile in its role that it plays in specific teams. So yeah, I really enjoyed the build. Hyper Voice, starting to come around on it. Didn't think it would be very useful for Farigiraf, but I'm starting to see otherwise. But yeah, good build.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I was toying around with a couple of fairy type attacks when I was making my build, specifically to combat the dark type threat. And yeah, this build kind of reminds me of the first pass that I did on it before I changed a whole bunch of stuff around. I like it though. I do like it, especially with the fact that you're going to be bolstering some of your other stats too. All right, and that's going to bring me to mine. Now I'm going to put my disclaimer. I did not copy anybody and do this last minute. But you're going to see a lot of similarities. So with my Farigiraf, I also gave it the ability Armor Tail, and I gave it the item the Mirror Herb, which is the new item that whenever an opponent uses a stat boost, you copy that stat boost. So the reason for that is because I'm also going to be running Agility and Nasty Plot for that sweet double plus bonuses per turn. I also gave it the move Mean Look because what I'm about to do, I don't want my opponent being able to swap out if I've got a massive advantage, because I'm going to turn around and flip Stored Power on him. As we saw, we don't really need to worry too much about the EV investment when it comes to Stored Power because it's like a rolling stone. Once you get it going, it's not going to, it doesn't matter, it's going to hurt. And so to make sure that I was going to linger around for a little bit, I gave it the EVs in HP as well as its straight up defense because I believe the majority of dark type moves are physical in nature. And just to pad against bug typing as well as dark typing, I gave it the flying Terra type. So I would resist the bug and be neutral to dark types.
I really like the idea of giving it the flying Terra type. I don't know how often you'll encounter bug type mons or bug type moves, but it's always good to have that coverage when you need it. Again, another solid build. I really like that you used the Mirror Herb. It didn't cross my mind, I actually completely forgot about it, and now I'm kicking myself a little bit. Yeah, no, it's definitely a very good item, I think, to have on Farigiraf.
Yeah, Mirror Herb is a fascinating item for this. It also prevents, because if like your opponent raises their stats, that means that you're gonna get those same benefits. It prevents them from just raising their stats to try to like outdo you in that. You know what I mean? So that means that like, how do they deal with Farigiraf at that point? They have to do something other than raise their stats, which can be really hard if Farigiraf already has crazy stats from all the boosts. So yeah, fascinating.
You know, it's really hard to like now that you guys are like all mentioning like Stored Power, I feel like that would have been another awesome move to put on. Like it is just so convenient, like especially with its bulk. It's like, yeah, I just set up plus that Mirror Herb too. Like I also totally forgot about that item, and like it's just really good. Like you can't go wrong with it, honestly. And like the Terra typing that you're giving for it as well, like I that's like another one I never would have expected as well. So like, yeah, oh my god. Are you sure you didn't plan? You didn't just like put all this together, you know, today, this morning? just kidding. But
last night, actually.
But yeah, pretty good. Stored Power.
I think we're all thinking the same thing. Mirror Herb was a really good choice. I think, you know, it just makes sense. I think for a Pokemon like this that has it's versatile enough to be taking these stat boosts and using it to its favor. So I think Mirror Herb was an excellent choice. Flying Terra type, you know, I saw similarities there with where I was going to offer you a little more protection against its weaknesses. And yeah, looks like Stored Power as well is you know, one of the things that makes Farigiraf so versatile in using those stat boosts. So
yeah, I mean, there's a lot. This Pokemon is kind of a very Swiss Army type Pokemon because it can be aggressive. It's got the stats for that. It can be tanky. It's got the stats for that. You know, it could play support. It's got a lot of really decent support moves as well. And there's just a lot of interesting combinations you can come up with. And for example, there's one with Cudchew. Now, it says that when Pokemon eats the berry, it will regurgitate it and use it again at the next turn, right? Well, if you pair it with a Pokemon that has Pickup, here's the question, and I haven't had a chance to test this one out, but I want to. If Farigiraf eats the berry and your Pickup Pokemon picks it up, will your Pokemon pick it up and then you can trick it back onto Farigiraf so it could use it again and again and again? You see where I'm going here?
that's interesting.
Because Jay and I actually tested out Pickup, and we found that as soon as a berry is used by one Pokemon, the Pickup Pokemon will pick it back up and actually have another berry waiting in its hands if it's not holding an item.
Yeah, that's right. You could essentially do an infinite loop with single-use items if both Pokemon have pickup.
So in this case, since it's doubling up the berry, what would happen if you were to say using a citrus berry and pick up and trick every turn you're healing for 100% of your hit points?
Yeah, I think Farigiraf's biggest potential is in double battles because you can get away with things like that.
This Pokemon can go physical. This Pokemon can go. Its natural inclination is to go special attack, but it's got moves like Zen Headbutt and Psychic Fangs and Foul Play, Body Slam, Stomping Tantrum. Like it's got really decent physical moves, and you can actually put together a physical build and come out of nowhere with this. And Farigiraf is tanky enough to actually pull it off somewhat well. But then there's like also things like Sap Sipper, going in and first of all being completely immune to grass type damage for a safe swap, boosting that physical attack, and then just going to town with moves like Double Hit, Stomp, which I believe Stomp works on anybody who's used Minimized. I remember one move got a boost so that if somebody used Minimize, that move automatically hits the next turn. You can use. I'm looking for one that's like a massive splash, so it hits everything on the field.
Is that not Leaf Storm?
I think that might be Leaf Storm too. Yeah. The other thing I like is this Pokemon also gets Skill Swap and Imprison, so you could Skill Swap Cudchew on a Pokemon with the move Recycle.
Yikes!
Yeah, there's a lot. This I like this Pokemon. This is probably one of my favorite Pokemon since I've actually been able to sit and look at it. I have to agree with Cayla's enthusiasm on this. This Pokemon has a ton of ridiculous potential.
Agreed.
As for the first kind of random tangent for the new year, I do find it gross that we're using a move that's called Cudchew, or an ability called Cudchew, where it eats the regurgitated berry. Plus the fact that we're also talking about pickup, so it also feels kind of disgusting.
Ew.
Trying to think about it. Hey, you dropped something. Oh.
I'm surprised nobody's made like a really weird art of that yet.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Oh my god, I would love to see art of that. That'd be like hella funny.
Stay tuned after this video. There will be a bunch of Farigiraf eating vomit art.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. If you artists do come up with it, please tag hashtag Pondcast or something for Twitter and post it, or and then.
Oh, so you're gonna plug
go
my
for
Twitter.
it, please.
And then Twitter with things that I want to watch.
Hashtag Pondcast quote Cayla.
Just add us all so we know.
Oh yeah.
You have your own Twitter.
Oh, that too. But mine's just like comparatively shorter compared to yours. Just saying. I mean, you can just hashtag Pondcast too. And then Cayla, and if you're just gonna add all our names anyways, then yeah, might as well go for it.
And with that, brings our episode to a close. Hope everybody enjoyed our builds. Let us know what you think down below. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing, and give us your thoughts on some builds that you've come up with for Farigiraf. And also, thank Jay from the passenger seat and Cayla from Cayla's Capsule for joining us on this episode. And as always, have a wonderful day. Bye.
See ya.
Peace out.
Bye.
Cheers.